Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So today's video we're going over the Snyder Cut. I'm going to give my quick initial thoughts. What I like to do in my reviews is I always do it spoilers. So if you haven't seen the Snyder Cut, highly recommend to stop the video, go watch those long 4 hours, and then come back to talk the Snyder Cut or whatever, or just hear my initial thoughts, or whatever floats your boat. Or if you really don't care about reviews, I'm just gonna give my a quick initial thoughts. But if you never seen a review of mine, what I like to do is I always go over the synopsis, and each chapters of every important scene that happens. I don't talk about every single scene that happens because then we'll be here for 2 hours long. But what I like to do is I break it down little by little, and then at the end I give my initial thoughts. But yeah, overall, to start off the whole thing, right? There was a message that pops up that says, they wanted to fulfill Snyder's his dream or whatever. His initial thoughts, and they made it 4:3 size. Now, I don't have a really that huge problem with it, but it was kind of weird to see like two little edges of just darkness on the side of it. I mean, I love to watch my movies full screen, but hey, if it was to make the movie a little bit better for Zack Snyder and wanted for his vision of the movie, then hey, we're gonna sit here and watch it. But overall, it was a little bit weird. I'm not sure if I liked it or disliked it. I mean, it was pretty much like whatever to me, but it was kind of weird to start off the movie just like that as well. So chapter one really opens up. It go by 6 chapters. Now, before I even mention that, with their first initial thoughts of the movie, they wanted to break it down in 3 parts. I'm kind of happy they didn't do that in this movie. I'm kind of happy that we got the whole 4 full hours instead of the three part breakdown, because it just wouldn't make sense. I think this movie benefited from 4 hours long, because if it was 3 parts, I would have been like, wait, what? So there was that, and I'm gonna talk about that a little bit later in the video about why it makes sense to do 4 hours long instead of the 3 parts series long. But yeah, so part one really opens up with the Batman versus Superman scene with him, with Superman and Doomsday having that big major fight that they had. Where he gets, if you've never seen Batman versus Superman, highly suggest to go watch those previous movies and then go watch this, especially Man of Steel, because Man of Steel is the most underrated comic book movie to me personally in comic books, movies. But he fights Doomsday, which Doomsday gets born or made into the world by Lex Luthor, which he uses General Zod's dead body from Man of Steel 1, and he actually makes a creature called Doomsday. Is supposed to be the end of the world type creature, powerful enough to bring down a god himself. So that's basically what happens in Batman versus Superman. He fights Clark, because Batman uses a kryptonite to try to weaken and kill Superman, which he almost did. But he made this kryptonite spear, and then in Batman vs Superman, he stabs Doomsday with kryptonite, because kryptonite is technically Kryptonian. Because he has General Zod cells in his body. So, it was enough to kill him, but also he was stabbed with one of Doomsday's spikes, which kills Superman as well, because he stabbed him right in the heart. So both of them are dead. So it opens up before that with Superman's death screams, which echoes around the whole world. I think it was pretty touching. I literally got the chills when that scream was happening, and they were showing people reacting, could hearing, turning around, could hearing the screams going off. It was a pretty crazy and touching scene. Because like I said, it started off from where the death of Superman and then expanded all across the world. I think it was a pretty nice, touching scene. Um, Started off pretty heavy when this movie first started, and it was like, oh, what are we getting ourselves into? So there was that as well. Then there's a scene with the mother boxes kind of activating off the screens, because I don't know, the screens has something to do with the mother boxes, or the vibration of the mother boxes were activating the screen. So then we found out that Lex Luthor was trying to bring in Steppenwolf from the mother boxes, where he could bring in Darkseid, the god himself. So that's basically what happens. The mother boxes start breaking open, and Atlanteans and Amazonians and Cyborg, because they have the mother boxes, start realizing like, wait, what the hell's happening? This thing is activating because they've been sleeping. They call it sleeping for centuries, but it was not active. But the screams activated it, so it was pretty badass as well. Um, and basically had the Amazonians and Amazonians get right on guard, because they're like, man, we don't know what's gonna happen when this thing breaks open. We don't know what's gonna come out of it on the other side as well. Then, it goes, one of the big touching moments was Lois visiting Clark's monuments as well. Her always going over there looking at the destroyed monument after the Batman or Superman versus Doomsday fight, where Superman dies. So she goes there to revisit that place where her technically her husband gets killed. So she goes there to go visit, and then it switches to terrorist with briefcase. They look like they're going into um, some random, I don't know what it was, museum or something, and they go in there, and it looks like they started executing people and were trying to blow things up. And then they were gonna kill some of the hostages that they had kidnapped, and then that's when Wonder Woman was watching the whole time, because she's seen it happening from the whole time. I mean, she was just randomly there. Uh, she was just standing on top of the statue for some reason, just standing around like, huh, what am I gonna do today, huh? And she's just standing there, and then she comes swooping down, and she comes and takes out the terrorist guys. There was one guy, he had he because there was a bomb that they had planted, and they activated it, so they wanted to kill the hostages and take out, the bomb was strong enough to take out 4 blocks. So she had to hurry up and improvise, even though it was pretty dangerous with her just coming in there and just bashing right through the door. Because they could have easily just turned around and just killed the hostages. So I don't think she was thinking, but so she ends up taking out the terrorists, and then she eventually gets to the main guy who was there. So he turns his weapon, even and the bomb was about to go off. So she grabs the bomb, throws it up into the air. Even though I don't think it was pretty high enough, I think she could have. I mean, she's literally a god. She could have just threw it more into the atmosphere. But anyway, so it exploded a minute as she comes back. So the guy turns his head towards the other hostage, and he was about to unload. And then she comes in, I don't know. And then there's that badass scene that she has where she's blocking all the bullets with her armor. And I really love that scene. It was in the original one as well, but I really love this scene, man. That scene was so sick. uh, and that was basically one of our first introductions to Wonder Woman as well, with the original movie. But it was pretty badass. I really, really liked that as well. But that was pretty much it for that. And then we go into the Amazonians again. And this movie was kind of focusing heavy on the Amazonians as well. Because let's be honest, they're a group of badass women, women that's real, real strong as well. So it was pretty badass as well. So I always forget how to say her name. Queen Hippotolia. I might be mistaken on that. Definitely might have butchered that, but they're in the mascara as well. But then they had to go to this mother box, because they're keeping it in this little small coliseum where they concealed it as well. So then the mother box looks like it's starting to activate, and then out of nowhere it activates, and the paradox demons show up, and then Stephen Whip shows up, and he's ready. He's ready to take the mother box as well. And then here is the battle of the mascara. You know, it starts off with L, and then Hippo. Totally, I'm just gonna call her the queen. The queen, you know, she gathers the mother box after, you know, when the paradox demons is fighting, and Steppenwolf is whooping on these Amazonians' asses. And then, you know, it was pretty badass scene when they all jumped on him, and, you know, they were holding him down. So she's trying to run away as well, but, you know, she's taking casualties as well. People are dying, you know, real close people to her in in the in her army or whatever. And then she, you know, she runs out. She tries to seal the Coliseum with Stephen Wolf in the Coliseum. So she eventually does it, and then that's when it happens. You know, so they start running off, and then, you know, the Coliseum falls into the water because she seals it. And then out of nowhere, badass scene where Stephen Whip just, you know, I mean, I kind of figured what's gonna happen. I mean, I know damn well there was no stone that was gonna hold him there, unless it had like some type of spell or force field where he couldn't break through. But he just shoots through the through the ceiling. So basically, those Amazonians just died for no reason. So, you know, they he shoots through the ceiling and then goes in there and then tries to run and tracks them down. Now that scene was just a little bit different from what we got from the original movie with them running away. I feel like the original movie was a little bit better in that aspect. Because they were focusing more on the running away thing instead of Steppenwolf just basically, you know, wrecking them and then getting to the mother box pretty fast. But overall, it was still a badass scene. So basically, it. And then, yeah, Amazonians just gather around because you know they came, because you know they grabbed the Legion, so that, you know, a whole bunch of Amazonians was coming down from the fields, going ready to charge Steppenwolf, and he's like, "Yeah, I don't want that smoke. I'm getting out of this jam before I have to fight this whole army." So he poured us out of there. He got out of it. He got what he wanted. He poured it out of there. But I think it was so badass just seeing these Amazonians just running down the hill with their horses and then shooting their arrows at them. And it was pretty badass as well, man. I really love that scene and most of the Amazonian scenes that they have. But like I said, they really did focus on them as well. So going on, so there were 6 chapters. So you know, like I said, I'm gonna break them down chapter by chapter. So in the second chapter, you know, of course, Stephen has the mother box, so pushes it into the monument as well, and it activates, and the Sod comes out of it. You know, he starts talking to the Sod, and basically, you know, he tells the Paradox demons to look for more of the mother boxes as well. So now it kind of forces the Amazonian to light the braziers, you know, because they have to call for aid for Gundor. Uh, so so, you know, they activate the blazers. You know, they shoot an arrow, and the arrow goes and shoots, or they shoot the arrow and it lights the brazier so Diana can find out. So then she eventually finds this crypt, and basically, you know, it's in the trailer as well, shows you know, she finds this hidden door, and it's a dark side chamber, so she can learn a little bit more about them as well. And then it goes back to Aquaman. You know, Aquaman saves this random guy, but he eventually returns to Atlantis. You know, and then, you know, Vocal, he wants nothing to do with the Atlanteans, so he didn't. You know, it's always confusing with Amazonians, Atlanteans, you know, but yeah, he wants nothing to do with them. So basically, and then, you know, so he you know, the scene changes and then goes back to Steppenwolf, and he's actually talking to the Sod through the monument as well. The Sod was really unhappy with Steppenwolf, and then we find out why Steppenwolf was doing all this, because he, you know, he wants to make a play to the Sod and dark side, and you know, he tells Steppenwolf that he has betrayed Darkseid, and he still owes him 50,000 worlds. That's right, 50,000 worlds he has to destroy to get back on Darkseid's good graces. Jesus Christ. 50,000 worlds. But then he tells him that, he's find mother boxes and he's trying to bring in Darkseid through the mother boxes, but the side still was not happy about it. So there was that. And then it goes back to Gal or Wonder Woman. It goes back to her, and she starts talking about the old battle to Bruce about Steppenwolf. I mean, about the old Defenders, about how Darkseid, first came to Earth, and he was trying to basically he was trying to find to fight the anti-life. It's basically power enough to destroy a whole world. It grants Darkseid this ability, or it's fire and all of that. So Darkseid really really wants that. And then the big battle of the Earth Defenders has old gods, humans, Amazons, and Guardians. Well, one guardian to be exact. But then the mystics that was with Darkseid were basically in charge of the mother boxes come down. Then the great battle starts as well, and then it was a pretty badass scene. Now when I first seen the trailer, I really did thought we are gonna get this scene more planned out, and I thought it was a scene to where they were gonna have to have to gather all these people and fight Darkseid. But it kind of didn't make sense because everything is with the new technology in the movie. So I was personally kind of overthinking it myself, but but it was pretty badass scene nonetheless. And then I love how they said Guardians, even though there was one single Green Lantern. So you mean to tell me there was a Green Lantern on Earth, and they were finding out that Darkseid was coming to Earth to destroy Earth and get the anti-life. And you mean to tell me this Green Lantern did not contact the other lanterns to come to save Earth? That was kind of weird. And not only that, this Green Lantern just gets destroyed by Darkseid. He just gets destroyed. He gets his arm ripped off. And then it was pretty badass scene where the green ring was rising up because whoever grabs the green ring is gonna get the power from it. So Darkseid was trying to grab the green ring, and then Zeus, who was the savior, Zeus and Ares, who was actually fighting there. Zeus, hits Darkseid with the lightning bolt, which was pretty badass. Zeus was wrecking havoc in that scene, and then Ares comes out of nowhere and just hits him right in his, in his whole arm, kind of like or his shoulder with kind of like how they hit Thanos. How Thor hits Thanos, and his shoulder, and he hits him. I mean, he's another one. He should aim for the head, but Ares hits him, and it was pretty badass as well. And then they prevailed the invasion, and then Darkseid had to retreat. But yeah, pretty pissed off about that Green Lantern scene, and I love the Green Lantern, so I was kind of a little bit sad seeing them how that scene ended up playing out. But yeah, that was pretty much it for chapter 2 as well. Then with chapter 3, we see Ezra finally meet Iris as well. He saves her as well. So I think we're gonna see more of that in the Flash movie as well. But it was his first time meeting her as well. I know there's a lot of controversy when it comes down to Ezra's Miller, but I really do love his Flash. His Flash in this movie kind of redeemed himself from the first movie. I think he's a real good Flash, man. Most of the scenes that he had, they had him telling jokes in it, and I was cracking up on some of the jokes. I mean, I wasn't like cracking up. I giggled, I chuckled. I had a few of his jokes, especially when he grabs the hot dog out of midair. I think that was pretty funny as well. Then we seen some paradox demons dragging some Atlanteans to Steppenwolf for the trying to get info on the second mother box, which we end up finding out later that he eventually does get the second mother box, but the second mother box is in Atlantis. So there is that. Then we get the infamous Victor Stone football game. Then we found out, his mother had died because she had in a car crash with Cyborg. So the father, who is a professor at Star Labs, has to try to bring Cyborg back, and that's when he uses the mother box that Cyborg has to bring Cyborg back to life as well. So there's pretty much that. Then we get a quick scene from Barry in visiting his father in prison because his father is in prison for the death of his mother, which he was framed because he didn't actually do the death. We've find out from either from comic books or from the Flash TV show that it was actually Reverse Flash who had actually framed Barry's father. But that's a story for another time. Hopefully, we get that in the new Flash movie as well. So there is that, and then Cyborg buries the mother box at his tombstone as well. Then we get J.K. Rowling's Commissioner Gordon. I think that was pretty interesting as well. Really unfortunate we didn't get a proper Batman movie with Ben Affleck, but hey, whatever, really not much you could do about that. But I really liked it, his Jim Gordon every time he popped up on the screen as well. Then we found out the Paradox Demon captures Victor's dad because they could sense the scent of the Paradox. I mean, if of the mother box, if you had interacted with it as well. And then that's when the badass scene happens as well with Steppenwolf eventually finds out that the Atlanteans have the mother box and he goes and attacks them as well. Of course, Arthur comes and saves her from the day, and then but eventually he gets away and he gets the mother box and was able to build a force field around him. So that was pretty much it for chapter 3. So with chapter 4, it's Jim talking to Batman, Diana, and Flash, and Cyborg. So it was another cool scene as well on top of the roof as well. And then they all disappear. They do the disappear act that the superheroes are known for doing. It was pretty funny seeing Flash just stand there like, hey, that was kind of rude. They just left without saying anything. But I think that was pretty funny as well. Um, and then Steppenwolf interrogates the people, and then they have a full battle with Steppenwolf as well. Flash was using his super speed, but to me personally, it doesn't look like he doesn't have his full power. Like he doesn't know how to use it entirely. Because he's the Flash. He's the fastest man on Earth. He can hit people way before you even react. So it looked like he was still doesn't in this version of the Flash doesn't have all his powers just yet. I mean, he does have the ability to slow down speed and phase the walls and all that, but I don't think it doesn't have the potential it could be with the Flash. I think it's more because they didn't want to OP him as well, but there is that. But then we eventually find out that Steppenwolf, escapes, and then Steppenwolf finds the anti-life equation because the mother box shows him the anti-life thing. So then he summons the Sod to tell him that, and then that's basically it. Then we had a quick scene with Martha, who is Soup's mother. She eventually goes and talks to Lois Lane and try to get her to reenact with the rug because she is still devastated from losing Superman, her husband. But then we found out it was actually Martian the Manhunter, and I'll talk about him just a little bit later after we talk about the last 3 chapters. So now with chapter 5, it's the crew trying to find out how to stop this man. Then they eventually find out a plan to using the mother box because Cyborg explains to them how he was built. So then they eventually find out that they could use that mother box to bring back Soups. So that was pretty interesting as well. So they dig up his dead body, bring him to the ship, throw the mother box in the water, and try to bring this man back to life. And then they eventually did. So then when they eventually did, it's that scene that to me is one of the best scenes in the movie as well, when he Superman, who had just risen up from the dead, doesn't is not fully aware of what's happening. He's not himself, so he stands there and he's scanning all of them, and he basically gets so Cyborg's suit is known for, it's kind of like Blue Beetle. It can detect people when they're getting ready to attack. So gets in defense mode, and then he aims at Superman and shoots at him, and then that's when the fighting happens. And then it's a badass scene as well. One of my best scenes in the movie is when the Flash is running. With the Flash has a weird run in the movie. He runs like this. I hate his run. His run is, it looks so stupid in the movie, but he's running and he's running through hyperspeed, and then he's turning around and looking at Soups, and then Soups, who has Arthur Curry, he has Arthur Curry. He's holding Aquaman, and then he's holding Wonder Woman. He's holding both of them, and cyborgs attack him as well. But even when the Flash is running in hyperspeed, I love when Superman just slowly turns his head and can actually see the Flash in hyperspeed. Because most people can't do that unless you're Superman. So or reverse Flash, or people who has hyper speed or all that. So I just love, he just throws these guys off of him, goes and attacks the Flash in super speed. It was so badass. I really love that. And then you could see the terror on the Flash's face. It's so bad. I tell you, I love that scene, man. It's so perfect as well. So yeah, one of my favorite scenes in the movie as well. And then eventually gets stopped by Lois Lane because he Soups see Batman just standing right there as well, and he goes and definitely remembers him for almost trying to kill him. So then he starts hitting him with heat vision as well, and then he was down. Batman was down to his last ditch effort, and he was about to get killed, but eventually Lois Lane steps in and saves the day for all of them, and he remembers Lois, so he takes off. And then while they were fighting, because they left the mother box, that risen cyborg, Steppenwolf comes, grabs the last box, so he has all three boxes, and he tries to unity all three boxes to bring in Darkseid. So there is that as well. So chapter 6 starts with Clark returning home to Kansas. Him trying to, him having basically his last, one of his last send-offs before he goes into the fight as well. And then they all forming a plan. They eventually get on the ship that wasn't fixable. Cyborg was able to fix it because it's one of his powers. He could talk to machines and fix machines, sees what's wrong with them. He could fix anything on the road. But that's basically it. So he gathers all three boxes. Of course, he tries to form all of them together as well. Then that's forced all the Justice League to actually go and do a anti counter attack. So they go over there. Actually, Bruce tries to lure the Paradox demons away so that they could get a little bit closer, but it actually made no sense at all because they still end up fighting with Bruce. So I don't know what that was for, but anyway, so he goes and he tries to go, and then they eventually fight him, and then it's a little badass scenes as well. So then they eventually end up getting to Steppenwolf, and I'm skipping a lot of things, but they eventually get to Steppenwolf, and then they have another quick battle as well with all of them end up attacking, so a cyborg can get closer to this mother box and try to disable it. But they need the Flash to do some electricity force field thingy as well. So then, one of the Paradox demons who was shooting at them as well while all this is going on. ends up shooting the Flash in the stomach. So he shoots the which I don't know how he did it because the Flash is super fast and can barely be seen. But he ends up shooting the Flash, so the Flash falls down to the ground, and then Cyborg is stuck because he needs the Flash to try to get out of it. So then eventually the portal opens up because the mother box completes itself. So the portals open up, and Darkseid was this close to stepping out of that portal. But then the Flash does what he does best, and he decides to screw up the timeline uh, so that none of that happens. So he eventually does that as well. So the mother boxes, who is now in Vic's head, because Vic eventually, because of the timeline switch, eventually switches it to where that none of that happens, and tries to change Vic and try to get him to end his life with his family. And Vic ends up refusing, and then that happens, and then basically they end of Steppenwolf right there because they all end up attacking Steppenwolf, and it was pretty badass as well because Aquaman was the first one to stab him in the back. He just throws him. Superman punches him backwards, and then it was a badass scene too where Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman just jumping up in midair, or I just use Diana, and use her actual name in the movie. Diana goes up and then whew, cuts off Steppenwolf's head, and then the head flies through the portal where Darkseid, Garen Goodness, and the side is waiting for the portal to open up, and then the portal closes, and the mighty heroes save the day. But that is before Darkseid says to decide to use the Armada to go to for the old ways, because that was the old ways they'll try to get to Earth, and that was the way of them getting to Earth as well. So that was pretty much it with chapter 6. And then as the epilogue, so this is basically the end of the movie as well. Cyborg, listening to the old tape of his father, because his father gave him a tape and try to tell him how to use, his abilities, and he had squashed the tickets. He's a little furious that he claims that his father made him into this monster. But there's pretty much it with that as well. It goes out to everybody saying their goodbyes, everybody talking or whatever. And then that's when the craziest thing happens. Um, you know, uh, so we find out Lex was in his cell. They were trying to get him to come out of his cell, and then we find out that he eventually escapes. Then it leads to this scene with Deathstroke going to go meet him on the boat. You seen that towards the end credits of the first Josh Whedon's Snyder cut. Josh Whedon's version. So he goes and meets up with Lex Luthor and tells Lex Luthor that he wants the Batman. So basically, it with that. They didn't really say much about him. Actually, barely even used Deathstroke at all. But we'll talk about that a little bit later, as well. So then the nightmare scene happens. Bruce Wayne goes to sleep during this movie. Every time he goes to sleep, he's having nightmares, and that's where it explains the nightmare scenes as well. So then there is basically Batman, Cyborg, Mara, the Flash, and Deathstroke all together, and because in the nightmare, it's uh, they let Lois Lane dies, and then that's when Superman goes absolutely crazy and kills everything in sight, and having people are now suffering because them letting the love of his life die. So that's basically it in the nightmare scene as well. So that eventually leads into the Joker, because Mara tells Batman who has he ever loved in his life, because she wants revenge for Batman killing off um, Aquaman, because there was an earlier flashback which I should have mentioned. I don't know why I didn't, but there was another flashback where Aquaman dies, and a couple other people die, but some heroes die as well. So there was a couple scenes with that. So that Mara, who is with Aquaman, is now suffering because of that as well. So then we see the Joker finally show up, which is not just any other Joker, it's Jared Leto's Joker. So he is there and he starts to mock Batman and giving him ultimatums because he's there to help Batman fight Superman as well. And I just love the interaction between each other. You could tell that Batman was getting a little frustrated with the Joker because he was basically teasing Robin's death, which they did not tackle in this movie. I remember Zack Snyder actually talking about that and talking about how he wanted to tackle the Robin's death. So if you wanted to and you were doing reshoots, why didn't you? I don't really understand that as well. But eventually, has gets to Batman's breaking point where Batman tells him he's like after after Joker tells Robin about how he couldn't save Robin, he then tells Joker that really got Joker a little bit pissed off, where he tells him that how he held um Harley Quinn on his lap while she was dying from Superman of killing her, and telling her that her last wish was that he kills the Joker, and that really pissed off the Joker. And I thought it was a pretty good interaction with both of them. And then he's leaves, so he's like, you almost got me, you almost broke me, Batman. I think it was pretty good. I really like that scene. Like I said, we didn't get enough nightmare scenes in the movie, which I did thought that with the reshoots we were gonna get a little bit more, but we didn't get any of that. But there was that. Then it basically ends with Martian the Manhunter approaching Bruce at the end of the movie. Approaches him and tells him and warns him about Darkseid, about how Darkseid is coming, and he tells him that he wants to show the world that he is there as his presence as well, because he's the general in the movie. But yeah, that's pretty much ends the movie. So it was kind of ending like on a little cliffhanger with Darkseid of what happens if Darkseid's gonna come back to this world. But we will never find out because that is the last of this movie. So there is that. But yeah, overall, so final verdicts of this movie, I thought it was pretty good. I thought the scenes looked better, and it made some scenes made more sense. They got rid of some horrible dialogue in the first movie, like when Superman first comes back. He tells Batman, because in Batman versus Superman, he asks Superman, "Does he bleed?" And then in Batman versus Superman, in Joss Whedon's Justice League, he grabs Batman. He's like, "Can I ask you something, Batman? Do you bleed?" Like, wait, what? Like, yes, I bleed. I'm human. What are you talking about? So they got rid of that horrible scene as well. So that scene was a little bit different. There was other scenes that was kind of horrible, like when Superman first rises up from the dead, he just wearing the black suit, even though he didn't die with the black suit, which was so stupid as well. So they made some scenes look a little bit better as well. They somehow made the Amazonians look way more badass as well. So that was definitely one of my favorite parts in the movie as well. My favorite parts as well was the flashback scenes, seeing these little wars. I really love the nightmare scenes, but actually, let's just get into my dislikes because there were kind of a lot. One of the first ones is the screen size as well. Like I said, not the hugest bad thing about the movie, but it was kind of weird seeing the movie like that as well. Um, Not enough Darkseid in this movie. I really did thought that because they were kind of focusing on him being the main guy, but he was barely showing up. Actually, there was basically more Desaad than there was Darkseid, which so that was really more interesting as well. And then Granny Goodness did not say a single damn word in this damn movie. You mean to tell me, which even though the side is basically like his henchman, Granny Goodness is more closer than Darkseid than Desaad, and she didn't say not a single damn word. So her presence there was basically just to stand around, just look strong, I guess, which was really unfortunate, man. Because like I said, she's badass as well. So I was really unfortunate with that. Not a single word. Like the big war was a flashback scene. Like I said, I'm not really surprised about that as well because it kind of makes sense. But like I said, I don't know what I was thinking. I thought we were gonna get more from that. Um, the one single Green Lantern they had in this movie, he dies, which really pissed me off because I love the Green Lanterns as well. So there was that as well. Even though he had a badass interaction, he had a badass scene with him jumping through the air, attacking a few Paradox demons. He still gets destroyed, straight bodied by Darkseid. So there was that as well. Not enough nightmare scenes, as I said a little bit earlier. So there was that. Little to no Deathstroke. So Deathstroke shows up on literally the third arc of this movie, towards the epilogue, or no, he actually shows up in the hold up. Yeah, he actually shows up in the epilogue, which is so weird, man. So I thought we are gonna get more of him as well, because I really did thought, it's kind of like animated movies. The bad guys, the huge bad guys, X the other bad guys that they want to form up, and so I kind of thought we were gonna get more of that. So, but I understand. So there was that. I thought we would get more Lex, or so, because I thought it was gonna be like more scenes with Lex and Deathstroke trying to fight Batman, but there was barely none of that. And then there's only like two big major scenes with Martian the Manhunter. So, I feel like they were kind of hyping these guys up, and we didn't get enough of them. So yeah, that was really unfortunate. But overall, it was a pretty good movie. I really liked it. I really do think that if you have the 4 hours to watch it, I really do think you guys should check it out as well. I think you guys will absolutely love it. If you didn't like the first Justice League, then I understand that you probably wouldn't like this as well. But I feel like they polished up some of the scenes from the first Justice League. So those some scenes that you probably were a little bit mad about, they kind of fixed up. So I understand that as well. So like I said, man, hopefully you guys could check it out, man. I think it was pretty good. It was worth the watch. It's worth the 4 hours, in my opinion, as well. I seen GameSpot gave it a 3 out of 10. I thought that's a horrible review. But I understand, people are different. People have different opinions, so I respect that opinion as well. But I just completely disagree with that. I don't think it's a 3 out of 10. I don't even think it's under a 5, in my opinion. If you want to give it a 6, that's totally fine. I appreciate that if you want to give it a 6 as well. I'm not gonna give it a score because I don't like to give scores. But like I said, worth the watch. Please check it out. But that's pretty much it. That's all I got for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoyed this review. We got more reviews coming. Hopefully, we'll try to get zombies thoughts on the podcast as well. So enjoy that. Stay tuned for that. We got a couple hunts that I did, so be prepared for that as well. Where I got a review on two big action figures that I think you guys are gonna like. It's one of my popular videos as well. But that's pretty much it. You guys have a wonderful, amazing day, and see you guys later.